Welcome to the Cat Kanavos Show on New Earth TV. Please check out and like the show Facebook page by the same name, Cat Kanavos Show, where tonight's show will actually be posted along with the Spreaker radio link. And I'm your host, Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos, but my friends all call me Kat, so I hope you will too. And I am the co-author of the Amazon bestseller in pre-publication, which just happened this week, for Dreams That Can Save Your Life, written with Dr. Larry Burke, who's a radiologist at Duke University. And as a dream expert, my waking world is all about dreams. So I had someone actually mail in a dream to me this week, and I wrote them an answer and put it on Quora. So if you want to see the whole answer, you can go to Quora, Quora, and look up Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos. But this person wanted to know what it meant when his uncle showed up in his dreams and reached out to him to hug him. And he wanted to know if that was a good or a bad thing. And so I told him something that happened to a lot of the dreamers that are in our book, Dreams That Can Save Your Life. They had deceased loved ones come to them during their time of stress, or when things were really difficult for them financially or in health. And that was my little kitten you just heard there. Loki had a little operation today, so I'm going to show him to you. Say hi, Loki. And then you got to go down on the floor, okay? You can't crawl around on the computer. So when we are in times of stress and times of need, our loved ones will show up in our dreams and they'll want to give us a hug. So unless you are terminally ill and they've come to take you, it's okay. Go ahead and hug them. So if you've got a dream and you're not sure what to think of it, just go to my Quora page and email me the dream and we'll talk about it. So our guest tonight, Dr. Saida Désilets, says that Harvey Weinstein, Brett Ratner, Louis CK, and James Toback did not respect it. And the women who are now coming forward about their sexual abuse at the hands of these men are only now truly claiming it. What is it? She calls it sexual sovereignty. So welcome to the show, Dr. Salada.
Thank you so much, Kat. It's really great to be here. I love Kat, so it was really nice to meet your cat, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. Now, is it Salada or Salida?
It's actually Saida, so the I is like sounds like an E.
Saida, Dr. Saida. What a beautiful name. I love it. Now, what nationality is that? Is that French?
Well, that name is Arabic, but I'm actually French-Canadian with an Arabic name, so go figure.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit later because I did some research on you and it was quite amazing. So tell us, what is sexual sovereignty?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So sexual sovereignty as a concept, sovereignty meaning full authority, full autonomy of yourself, of your body, of your sexuality. So I included the word sexuality. I could have said body sovereignty, but we're a little bit, have the aversion of including sexuality into our conversations. I said, no, we're going to do this as sexual sovereignty. So any choice that you make around your sexuality, whether it's fertility, pleasure, partner, doesn't matter, is your choice to make alone and should not be made by institutions.
Oops, I think we've lost her. I think that what she's saying, I think we actually lost the good doctor for a second. Hopefully she'll be coming back on, is that sexual sovereignty is actually the right to control your body, your own sexuality, and physical fate, and not being subjected to the demands, the whims, or the control of the perversion of others.
She's back.
Okay. So she's back. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties tonight. Who knows why? Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. So you actually had some experience with this lack of sexual sovereignty, or to put it mildly, you were actually raped. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yes, absolutely. So what happened was, well, I grew up actually with a very healthy orientation to my sexuality, and I loved my body and I was okay with sex. So when the rape experience happened, it was a shocker. And I actually have to be honest, I think it is for everybody. I think we don't quite know how to orient when these things happen. We don't know what to say, we don't know what to do, we kind of leave our bodies. So that initial shock was pretty huge, but the bigger shock came a few weeks later when I'd gone back home. This happened in the Caribbean. I'd gone back home and was very, very sick post the rape experience. Went and saw a doctor. They rushed me into emergency surgery. When I emerged from that, that's the biggest shock. The biggest shock was to find out that I had 2 weeks to live based on what was happening in my body from the rape experience itself. So that shock, that was an unbelievable shock at that point, because I don't think we ever expect to die, but especially when we're 20 years old, we're not thinking in those lines. So it was definitely an awakening moment for me, and one that forced me to lean in and go, wait a second, is that going to be reality? Do I really only have 2 weeks to live? Or will I really choose life? And I could feel every fiber of my being going, I want to live. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I want to live.
Yeah. And what was really shocking about this rape is it was someone you knew, a date. Yeah. So
exactly.
That almost makes it worse. And that's what these women are talking about now. This is so timely. I'm so glad you're being so open and upfront about this, because women need to hear that you do go into shock after this happens. And the last thing in the world you want to do is confront the person who's just hurt you, and in your case, possibly killed you. And so people are saying, why did they take so long to come forward?
Yeah.
What is your
exactly?
insight?
And we. Well, when I think about, because this happened to me over 20 years ago, and back then, even my closest friends didn't ask me anything. They weren't willing to talk to me. They weren't willing to hear me. They weren't, I mean, I was honest that I'm dying, I've been raped, I'm dying, and no one would talk to me about it. So I think collectively we have a very hard time talking about this, even with safe people. It's just not easy. And then you add when you're in the shock factor, so when it's just happened, and sometimes that shock, that trauma can stay forever.
Yes, forever.
That's called PTSD. You're suffering PTSD, right? And then if you don't know how to break a trauma cycle, and you don't know that you can get help, because a lot of us don't, we're just not resourced that way. I know that I wasn't when I was 20 years old. I had no idea where to look. And then we stay stuck in that trauma, and it can take a very long time. But the good news is when we do choose to come forward, we initiate the healing process on an even deeper level, and it is possible to have full reclamation of our lives and sexuality.
So when you were going through this post-traumatic stress disorder, did you have nightmares about the rape? Did it come through in your dreams?
I had a lot of intense dreams, but even my living moments were intense, Kat. I mean, I remember, it's like I wasn't even able to function like a normal person for a while. I had to go away. I actually isolated myself because I needed to sometimes just scream and tear things and sob. And like there was a lot of stuff that wanted to move through my body. And you can imagine how hard that would be for someone who didn't have the freedom to go away, who had to go back to their job the next day and had to perform. Like, that's a bit insane if you think about it.
That's a nightmare all by itself.
It's a living nightmare is what I wanted to say. You're in a living nightmare. And sometimes my dream was probably like a place where I would actually escape, right? But dreams for me have always been very powerful. And I feel like I get almost like initiations in my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And in my dream self is always making these amazing choices. So I get to learn from her. I'm just amazed. And then often my allies come in the shape of animals, which is really interesting. I have a connection with animals. So when I was going through the trauma, I actually cannot remember because it was so long ago, if I was having nightmares or not. But I can be honest now that
No, it looks like we've lost her again for a second. She's going to be coming and going all night, but don't go away because her story is absolutely amazing. And I'm hoping that when she comes back, we're going to be talking about how she is a French-Canadian native, but she was actually raised on a First Nations reservation in Manitoba, where sexual abuse of children and teens and young women was very common. And I have heard that before, so I'm looking forward to getting her insight on that.
She's back.
Do we have her back?
Back.
yes.
Welcome back. We're probably going to be popping on and off. Who knows why we're having the internet problems. Sometimes it has to do with the moon. Sometimes it has to do with the weather. Sometimes it just has to do with a lot of people dialing in at the same time. So you were saying that you don't really remember what you were dreaming 20 years ago, but that you did have animal guides in your dreams. And I just know that those guides were trying to help you through that horrible time, and I'm sure that they were probably trying to make sure you didn't die, because if you had died then, you wouldn't be talking to me now and helping all the women who are going to be listening to this show.
Absolutely. And thank you. I think it is a super powerful full moon tonight, so maybe that has something to do with it. Yeah. I am in the jungle of Hawaii, so who knows? And it is a conversation that's super edgy. So sometimes when these things happen, I'm like, that's very interesting. So I just thank you for your grace with that. I'll keep popping back on, I am sure.
Yeah, and you're right. It is edgy, and sometimes that does happen. That energy comes in through the internet system, and it just pops on and off. So go ahead. Where were you going with what you were saying?
Yeah, I wanted to answer your question, because you said, I think you were referring to how I grew up in the First Nations reservations. Yes. And what was happening there. And as an outsider, because I was a white kid living on the reservation. My very first day of school, I was 6 years old, as grade 1. Every single child, including myself, in the first 10 minutes of school was sexually abused. We were by the teacher. Oh, and yeah, it was just it happened so fast. And basically she just put her hand on everyone's pants and asked us if we liked it. I mean, it was like a big deal, but for a child, for me, it was devastating. And but the curious part of this was that you could see how we were raised differently. I was the only child who reported it. Mm-hmm. And luckily for me, my parents knew I would not make up a story like that. And so we had a new teacher the very next day.
Oh, so thank goodness.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that can happen there. And because there's so much abuse in the collective there, how do you get away from it? So they have abuse at home, then they go to school, there's abuse, so they don't say anything because it's kind of like it's happening everywhere. But that was very instrumental. Yeah, it's the norm, and it should not be. Just like, we're learning, like with the Me Too movement, isn't it amazing how many people I have female and male friends coming to me said, I had no idea that all these people that I know personally have gone through this. Mm-hmm. And so I think that because it's so prevalent, what we need to look at then is like, okay, so human beings obviously traumatize each other. I mean, that's kind of like the thing that we're doing. So what can we do to break the trauma cycle? And then what can we do for the reclamation piece? Because that's, to me, it's really important, Kat, that the moment in time where the trauma happened isn't the determining factor for the rest of our lives. My identity isn't linked solely to that moment, that there's something bigger that I'm linked to. And I think that that's very, very important for people who are recovering and also desiring to thrive in this realm of relating and sexuality.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that our audience is going, my gosh, how can I get in touch with her? And how can I get her book? I have to read her book. So would you share that with us?
Yes, absolutely. So my basic site is dareyourdesire.com. And there's another page that I want to talk about, Kat. I think you might like it. I'd love you to check it out.
Okay.
It's called The Daring Project. thedaringproject.com. It's only for women. It's women literally all over the world, all walks of life, different ethnicities, classes. It's amazing. It's a community where we support each other to grow more confident, to exercise our voice more, to feel what it's like to be vulnerable, but be powerful in that vulnerability, to know, where's the line? This is the biggest thing I think we're learning with the Me Too movement, is that collectively we've socialized girls to override their instincts and to know where the line is and then to take a stand for it, right? Mm-hmm. So all of those things we talk about on thedaringproject.com. So that, and the book is also available on Amazon. My book, The Emergence of the Sensual Woman, is on Amazon.
Great. You don't happen to have a copy of your book to hold up, because I actually didn't receive one. So do you have one? Do you have a copy of your book with you?
We lost her again.
Oh, we lost her again. That's okay. We'll find out when she comes back, because it seems like she can kind of hear us. So, I think it's really important. The good doctor has brought up some really important points, and that's when, as women, when you are abused at home and then you go to your workplace, it seems kind of normal if the abuse continues. And then if you are in a social gathering and it continues, where do you draw that line? That's, I think, one of the things that the doctor was talking about. We have to learn where our line is, and we have to draw it. We have to do that. We must draw it. So I guess she's back.
I'm back. It's like we get to this place where I get so excited and like, boom. I wonder what kind of dreams I'll have tonight, right? So yes, the line, I'm so happy. You're amazing, Kat. You're just amazing. So the line, yes, it's very important. That's what sexual sovereignty is about. Why I want to have this discussion with people is to understand collectively that we have not claimed our bodies as our own. We really haven't. It's not been like, here's the human birthright. You have the right to your own body, period. End of story. Now, with that right comes responsibility always, right? So what is that responsibility? And we don't teach kids like, hey, no, we force them to go hug Uncle Jim or kiss Auntie Sue. Maybe they don't want to. And it's important to not force kids, because what that's doing is teaching them that your boundaries don't matter, what you like and don't like don't matter, your instincts don't matter. And then we continue that into adulthood where someone does something and we don't say anything.
I think that's so important. I think you hit on something really, really important there. Don't force your children to hug or kiss people they don't want to, because maybe those children know something you don't. And they have made their boundaries already, and everybody needs to respect them. Everybody needs to have their body respected. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. This has been a great conversation, and I would love to have it some more. So maybe on another time, when you're no longer in Hawaii or somewhere else, we could get together and chat some more about this, because I think it is something that's so important, and because we're all women are now coming together and we're locked into this mindset of no, we're not going to take it anymore. I think there's going to be a big change.
Absolutely, Kat.
And
I would love to continue the conversation.
It has been great having the good doctor with us tonight. And again, go and check out her brand new book that is on Amazon. And until next time, Sexual Sovereignty. She didn't have the book with her, but that's okay. Next time, maybe we can get a copy of it, because I didn't get a copy either. But that's Sexual Sovereignty. And don't go away, because we have one tough mother coming on to be with you again. And that is going to be Karen Finocchio. And she's going to be coming on to talk about how she overcame hardships in life, like getting married too early, having children very quickly, and then being in a divorce. So good night, everybody. This is Kat Kanavos. See you next time.